Hello, welcome to Olio, my show. My name is Susan Rushton, and before we begin, I need, as always, to explain what olio means. One definition is that it's short for olla podrida, which is Spanish for rotten bowl or rotten pot, which I just adore. It's a Spanish-Portuguese dish that has essentially everything in the world in it. Spinach, sausage in all its iterations, pig's feet, bacon, sausage, chicken, chickpeas, cabbage, carrots, beans, pig's ears, as I said, onions, garlic, as I said, everything in the world in it except naan and ginger snaps. That's one definition. Another definition is that olio is what comes in between acts of a melodrama. You might have somebody singing, you might have somebody doing juggling, you might have somebody doing a skit. None of it has anything to do with anything else, and certainly none of it has anything to do with the melodrama. So in other words, it's apples, oranges, and a monkey wrench. So welcome to my monkey wrench. My focus today is because I'm selfish. I want everyone in the world to enjoy reading as much as I do. And I enjoy reading so much that I'm in love with it. I'm in love with good writing. I'm in love with great books, great stories. And I couldn't enjoy them as much if I didn't read well and if I hadn't learned to read well early on. Okay, so a person here who is one of my heroes, this is Linda LoBue. You are in charge, you have designed, you have written a book called Race to Read, book series called Race to Read, and you're involved in a program called Sight Word Busters.
I am.
So tell us about those things. What is Race to Read?
So, Susan, first of all, I want to thank you for promoting your love of reading as much as you do. And I would like for all children to have that passion about reading.
Me too.
Reading is more complex than what most of us think it is to learn how to read.
Especially in English.
And English
is the weirdest language.
It absolutely is. So I'm a 40-year veteran educator, and my biggest focus over all those years has been to get children to learn how to read successfully before it's too late. And unfortunately, we have lots and lots of children who do not read proficiently by the end of third grade, and
third grade is a
key
vital
year.
point.
It is.
Okay.
If they don't catch up, the load is so heavy at school with reading content that they're no longer given instruction on how to read. Mm-hmm. They're just given textbooks and expected to read. So it really is a determining point, and it is sad for the hundreds and hundreds of children who do not become successful in time. Mm-hmm. So with that said, when I retired, I set out to write a step-by-step guidebook for parents. And this is for the parent that wants to ensure that their child does indeed learn to read on time. And teachers need help. Learning to read has many components. There are lots and lots of words, some which you can sound out, some which you can't. There's building fluency, there's building comprehension, and teachers have a room full of students. They're trying to provide all of this instruction. Mm-hmm. Children learn at different rates, and they can use assistance if parents will help at home. And I know they're busy, and sometimes they don't know how, and that was the purpose of the book. So this book is written to help parents to do supplement at home, to support at home, just to ensure that that their children meet the benchmarks.
How long does it take? So is this a 3-hour thing after dinner?
Oh, heavens, no. A parent can make a difference in a child's reading life by just giving 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 4 minutes a day. This book in particular is a sequence of learning skills. And so a parent can look over a word chart and talk to a child. There are charts about suffixes and prefixes, and there's another chart about compound words, and there are lots of different charts. So really only requires maybe 5 minutes, just 5 minutes a day can really help a child.
And what I've learned, as we're both teachers, what I've learned is that one of the best ways to learn is to teach it.
And that is absolutely
and so
true.
If the parent has an unnerving kind of, oh, well, I can't do this, I don't know enough, but that's one way. Helping a child is a way to help yourself.
Yes, and Susan, when you talk about that, parents feeling like they are unable to do it, that's not true. They can get instruction anywhere. This is one place you can get instruction, but there are many ways that a parent can help and needs help. We have a body of words in our English language that show up all the time, and they don't follow any rules.
Like enough.
Or come. Come should actually, if it followed the E, it would be comb and have. And those words actually start appearing in children's literature when they're in their first books. And so this set of words, and sometimes we call them sight words, sometimes we call them high frequency words, but a parent can help a child memorize those words so that they don't trip on them, which will impact positively their fluency and their comprehension.
Okay. Yes. Now, you've said you're a 60-year veteron.
40 year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So you have been in the school biz.
So I was trained with my undergraduate as a special ed teacher. Special education, and then did some postgraduate work, received a master's in reading, and then also an elementary curriculum.
A master's in reading?
To become a reading specialist.
Teacher. Oh, reading specialist, okay.
Right. And then reading curriculum, or elementary curriculum. And then I had the fortunate opportunity to teach in kindergarten, first, second, third, fourth, and fifth grades. I did that for 15 years, and then I was promoted to be a principal and was able then to actually stand back and look at what's happening in the classroom. And
here's what's happening in kindergarten and first and
watch those students. Yeah, those that were coming to school knowing their letters in kindergarten absolutely had more success than the other two students that didn't. I just always have to get that in, because parents can indeed help little ones learn their letters, their letter names.
How do you respond when you hear, and I can imagine you hear this, that's the school's responsibility?
Yes, we hear that all the time, and it really breaks my heart. The parent's missing out, the student needs the support, and teachers have their hands full. We have students that some are fast learners, and they're at this end of the spectrum. We have other ones that don't learn as quickly. There is a lot to learn in a classroom every year, and parents do need to, if they want their children to be successful. There's the exception. I bet you learned how to read very quickly, and maybe didn't. Yes, and probably didn't need a lot of support. I can
hardly remember not knowing.
Right.
Yeah.
And there are some very fortunate folks that reading wasn't difficult for them. But for most children, it's a complex skill that has to be mastered. So it is not the school's responsibility. And in order to comprehend, and you'll understand this, is you need a wide vocabulary. And if parents are not dedicating some time to help to reading stories to children, talking to them about different fields, then children don't have that background knowledge, that vocabulary, and that is a negative impact on their reading comprehension.
Before I go any further, I need to make clear how you can get hold of Linda LoBue. I have found two websites, citewordbusters.org and racetoread.com. And she has a phone number, 530-887-8335. And so we've been talking about Race to Read, which is done at home.
Right.
What's Sight Word Busters?
Oh, I'm
Thank you
thrilled.
for asking,
Thank
Susan.
you for asking. I am thrilled to be able to talk about Sight Word Busters. Sight Word Busters is an in-the-classroom program, and our community members, actually parents of children in the classrooms, and grandparents, aunts and uncles, and community
people
members.
who have heard about this,
they get
come
to
and volunteer.
come and be volunteers. And so we started the program 8 years ago. This is our 8th year. And we started at Rock Creek Elementary School right here. We started with 4 people. I was new to town. It was my mother and my husband, the only friend I knew, and her friend. And so we had our first little training in my living room, and we started working with materials down at Rock Creek. And it has grown to about 100 classrooms. We're in probably 24, 25 different schools throughout Placer County, and we just started a very cute program called Buster Buddies in West Sac, and that's older students going into the kindergarten and working with our materials. We actually made a special booklet for them. But if you don't...
Boy, I'm so bored. You're so tired of talking about this. This is wonderful. One classroom 8 years ago to 100.
100. And we're having to cap. Yeah, isn't that exciting?
That's fabulous.
Well, what's exciting about that really is that children are receiving this extra help with these words that are tricky. And so a volunteer gets trained. We train our volunteers. You don't need to know a lot about education, right? But we have 2 little strategies that we use that are very effective based on best practices. The volunteers learn it. They work with each child in the classroom for 2 minutes or less, 1 hour a day. So we have a team of 5 volunteers. One goes in Monday for an hour, sees every youngster. Every youngster in the classroom gets their own little booklet. And each of the booklets have these cute little certificates and the word list.
So for example, you have had, said, day, all, from, about, good, any, your, and I see, about, OU, your, OU, okay.
Said.
Yeah.
The pattern here is 2 vowels go walking. The first says a talking. That should be a.
Yeah, said, but it isn't.
It's not. But not all the words in our little booklets are non-decodable or tricky. Some of them are. These are what we call high-frequency words. And so if children are given they appear more than 50% in the text that the children are reading.
Okay.
So if children can look at these words and just read them like that, then they can spend their energy trying to figure out
the harder
words. So parents and community members get to work in these little booklets, and the children get a sticker every day. They get a regular sticker, or they get a sparkle sticker when they complete the entire list. And then all of our volunteers.
I've been wondering why you had that.
I'm pretty darn proud of these. When I found them, all of our volunteers get the badge, and it has a pencil, and it has the all important stickers in here.
Stickers.
So everybody gets their very own. And then the volunteer actually gets a star for every year that they've been a volunteer.
Oh, wonderful. Okay. Now, when people volunteer, does this cost for people to volunteer?
There is no cost whatsoever to the volunteer. We provide all of the materials, and I have other good news.
Okay. Why? What a surprise.
So 1 year ago, we just celebrated our first year anniversary as a legitimate 501c3 nonprofit.
Good.
And so we have a board of directors made up of community members experts in the field, and they are helping. So for a long time, it was just my husband and I that were really doing a lot of the work. But now we have the board of directors, and we've
show that to the
done a strategic
Sight Word
plan.
Busters pamphlet.
Yeah,
Okay.
and we've done our first strategic planning, and we have a focus. For example, this year our goal is not to expand over 100 classrooms, but to really guarantee consistency of the delivery of the program and to get volunteers to fill all of our spots. We never have enough volunteers. Just when we think we're going to have enough volunteers, another teacher will call me on the phone and say, Linda, we want Sight Word Busters in our classroom. So that means we have to find 5 more. So we're behind, and it really makes a difference for the students if they have somebody working every single day on their little booklets. So if people want to be a volunteer, you can go to sightwordbusters.org. And I want to call everyone's attention, Susan, to the fact that we use the word sight, S-I-G-H-T, not S-I-T-E. In this situation, it's Sight Word Busters, and there's an S on the busters.org.
Okay.
And there's all the information you need should you want to become a volunteer.
Mm-hmm. Now, so how long does the training take?
Well, so the training for new volunteers is 3 hours.
Okay.
And there's a lot to review, and so it takes 3 hours. And then we always ask our returning volunteers to come back, and we have new materials.
Please come back.
Please, we have great retention, but to come back to the training. And this year, I forgot this little gem.
My little volunteer handbook.
Yes,
okay.
And so we are able to give every volunteer their very own volunteer handbook, which really does give them the information that we deliver in the training. But there's a lot of information. There are different sheets in the book, and some of them require additional knowledge and exercise. So we get to give them a handbook.
Yes.
So I'm thrilled about that.
So Sight Word Busters. Sight Word Busters is for parents at home, and Race to Read.
Just the opposite.
No, Race to Read is for parents at home, and Sight Word Busters is for the classroom. Is there any overlap?
Oh, absolutely.
A parent can work with. I mean, as far as can a parent work with Sight Word Busters at home?
So because we're a nonprofit, we do not sell the Sight Word Buster booklets.
Okay.
They do have the same list that are they're the same body of words that everybody has.
Okay.
So they match up with the list.
But one is at home and one is for
one
the
is
classroom.
at home and one is in the classroom. So they have the same
Okay.
list.
When I sent you a list of the questions I might be asking, one of them was, how about a couple out of the millions of thrilling stories about children learning to read? Do you have any? Of course you do. You have tons, millions of success stories, but I've given you time to think about one.
You have, and when I think about the number of kids that I have personally helped learn how to read, I get a little teary-eyed because generally parents are bringing their children to me because they're struggling.
Yes,
but
and the kids,
yeah, they're not all that excited.
Right.
But I thought that what I would like to share is really something that thrills me when I'm using a technique that can be used at home. And it's a tip that I'd like to share, and I want to talk about it. So it's called the walk by, jog by, run by strategy.
Walk by as in W-A-L-K.
Correct.
Okay.
So this is a little strategy, a little activity you use with children when you're helping them learn how to read, and parents can do this at home. And it's exciting because you get to see the lights go off in a little youngster's face. So the way that the strategy is used, let's say that there's a decodable word, a word that your youngster can sound out, and let's just take cat, the word cat. So you model and ask your child to say the sound that each letter makes. K, a, cat. Now, they don't know how to read this word yet, but they can make the sounds. They've already learned their sounds. Cat. And now you say, let's jog by. That means we go just a little faster. So you model cat, and then the child does cat. And then you say, let's run by. And so they're trying to run, they go cat.
My cat. Oh.
And so it's just a lovely, we call them strategies.
So you don't, here's a letter C, here's a letter A, here's a letter T. You don't tell the child what it says.
No,
so you sound it out. You have, and he, she, they sound it out. Oh.
And then they
discovery. Yes.
So, and here's what I need to add to that, if I may, and that is that not all words are decodable, so that you can sound out. But when you can, then a parent can say, honey, do a walk by. Because if you're looking at a word like have, you are not going to ask a child to do a walk by because you cannot sound out the word have. You cannot sound out the word come. There are certain words you cannot sound out. But children don't really know that.
You mean
initially.
The rules don't apply?
That is correct. The rules don't apply. The patterns don't work for these particular words. But a parent can tell by looking at a word if you can sound that out. So instead of telling the child, then you just say, honey, walk by. And so then it clicks for the child, and the child can then start to use the phonics skills and sound those out. And then they can get the word. And that's the most fun for me, is when I'm helping a child get their word and they get it really.
Okay.
Instead of telling them.
I can imagine that you are anticipating a time when a student in like 8 years ago comes back and wants to be a volunteer.
Absolutely.
Has that happened?
Well, not yet.
Not yet.
So our sweethearts were in the kindergarten when we started. So they're in middle school now. We did just have a high school student call us and say, is there any way that I can be a sight word buster? So they have a special program. It must be here in town at Placer High, and they're actually going to come and be a volunteer. But it will be a lovely day when those students do come back, and they will. And the other thing is that they now know how important it is to learn these words and to help, and that it is hard. But if you stay consistent and you practice, you will get the words. And that's another benefit for parents that come to the training. They all of a sudden realize, oh my gosh, these flashcards that the teachers have been sending home for us to study that I can't find because half of them are here in the backpack and the other half are over here, truly are important, and I'm going to make a better effort at home to study those, to help my child learn those words. So it's a great training in that it really reaches out, and we have grandparents that come to the training, so when they're with their kids, they know how to help their grandbabies become a successful reader. Because again, Susan, there's nothing worse than a child not being able to learn how to read. They suffer for the rest of their lives.
Yes, yes, okay. I've been thinking that it's very clever of me to have asked you on at the beginning of the school year.
Yes.
I
was very pleased.
It wasn't that wasn't what I was thinking about. But this is, and so you have, can you think of a oh yes, a changing of life moment for a child that
well, I had
they're all that way.
They're all that way. I had a youngster who was very verbal and came from a family where they did do a lot of talking, and so this youngster was very blessed to have a good background knowledge. However, he was doing something called word calling, and so he was frustrated with reading because he couldn't get it, and he was beyond his reading level, which wasn't very interesting. And so helping this little youngster slow down and figure out, it was a thrill for me to be able to work with this youngster because they're not guessing, but anticipating what a word is going to be is a very good skill and tool to use and have as a reader. So he could anticipate.
But later.
Right. So, but he could anticipate. There's a bit of guessing. You look at when you get into a little harder text, but you can look at the beginning, and he was able to. If he was able to read the words initially in the sentence, and he came upon a word, getting him to slow down and just to think about what that word might be, we call it predicting, then you can get it. And it was great when the light went off for him, because he had, as I mentioned, just this wonderful vocabulary. And then when he learned the skill of predicting, he was able to then really increase his reading ability very quickly.
What do you get out of this?
Oh my goodness. So I believe we're here to serve, and I love helping children. I believe in children. I believe that they do indeed need to be able to read. And I know it's hard, and I've just seen what happens when they don't. So something that is interesting, the Placer Community Foundation has been very generous with us.
What a surprise. That's wonderful.
Well, and I was surprised when my whole emphasis has been on the youngster, helping the youngster, and teachers just really appreciate this additional boost. But it was Jessica at the Placer Community Foundation said, Linda, we love this project because you're giving community members the opportunity to give back. Now, I never looked at that piece, but I will tell you that I have volunteers every year come back and they say, it's the best time of my entire week. It's because I get to come back. So that feels good, too, knowing that I'm giving an opportunity for them. That's wonderful.
Okay, so if you are interested, you heard her say this more than once. You heard Linda say this, that volunteers are always needed. So if you want to contribute, to volunteer, go on to sitewordbusters.org and say yes, and this is how to contact. Or if you want to learn more about racetoread.com, Race to Read, go to racetoread.com, or give Linda a call, 530-887-8335, and make this community a better place for children and for the rest of us. That's wonderful. Linda, thank you so much.
Oh, thank you for having me. I really appreciate that. Do I have 1 second just with a closing
second? Yes.
comment? To volunteer for our program, you only need to be able to give 30 hours for the whole year. We only work 30 weeks in the classroom, 1 hour a week, and we provide substitutes because so many of us have to take somebody to the doctor or we go into Hawaii for a vacation. Lots of us are retired.
Yes.
And so just so that you know that that's the commitment.
Okay. Linda, thank you very much, and thank you for watching.